Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, yesterday you were given an assignment. That assignment had 4 division questions on it, but you had to estimate, you had to solve, and then your second, you had to have another strategy, and the other, you could have used partial products, but we're going to use the other strategy of checking it using the inverse operation. So please follow along with your dorky teacher. First, we had 6 and 8 hundredths divided by 16. I know when I divide with decimals, my decimal point goes straight up. Now, estimating this, I'm looking at it, and so my estimate, since I know 16 is not going to go into 6, I know my estimate's going to be less than 1. So that's my estimate. I don't have to necessarily on this give a number, but I know my answer is going to be less than 1. So that would be my estimate for this. You may have estimated differently. It's all good. It's all good. Now, of course, when you did it, you started with the most difficult thing in division, and you wrote down your multiples of 16. For the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. But we already decided 16 does not go into 6. So I have a 0 in the what's place? 1's place. And now I'm going to have a number here and here because 16 does go into 60. And I ask myself, how many times does 16 go into 60? And I know 16 times 2 is 32, which would mean 16 times 4 would be 64, which is too big because I just multiplied 16 times 2 twice. So it has to be 3.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah, but the number's 48.
And 3 times 16 would be 48. And I subtract, and I'm going to get 12. Now, 12 is smaller than 16, so we're fine. We always have to make sure after we subtract, we get the smaller number. So now I'm going to go down here. I'm going to bring my 8 down. And since I know, let me do some thinking here, because I know 16 times 2 is 32. I doubled that, so 16 times 4 is 64. Well, if I double that again, that's going to give me 16 times 8. So 64 times 2 is 128. So that'd be 8. And I would subtract and I get 0. So now I think my answer is 38 hundredths. However, my young friend Zane just texted me, and because I'm psychic, I can tell what the text says, even though it's in my pocket, and I'm going to check this with multiplication. So I have 38 hundredths times 16. Now when I multiply with decimals, I'm just going to ignore them first, and I'm going to multiply 38 times 16. I'll work on the decimal point after I get my product. I have a multiplication chart, so it makes it real easy. I know 6 times 8 is 48. I know 6 times 3 is 18, plus 4, 19, 20, 21, 22. Is that right? 6, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. All right, seems right. Now I'm going to the tens place. This is where it gets hard. Very difficult here. So pay attention very closely as I do this. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 3 is 3.
Oh my goodness!
I know. That seems like it should be a problem for a senior in college. But I'm making you guys so smart, and you already are so smart, that you're prepared to multiply by 1. I'm just saying. Now we find the sum of those two products. And we get 8, and we get 10, and we get 6. I go back to my original equation, which had two numbers behind the decimal point in the problem. So there has to be two numbers behind the decimal point in the answer. And boom, shakalaka, peace out. That works. I'm not exiting, I'm just boom shakalakaing. So don't get excited. He's going to stop talking. It's awesome.
Very excited.
Don't get too excited that I'm going to stop talking. All right, so then we have 137 and 1/10 divided by 15. Now, a cool little thing for you to know is you're not going to have remainders on this. So if you have a remainder on your paper, you're going to end up having to add a 0 to the end. And I'm going to tell you in this problem, you're going to have to add a 0 to the end. And I know that it's not going to go into 1. It's not going to go into 3 or 13. So now I know it's going to go into 137, which means my answer is going to be less than what? Well, if I don't have anything in the tens place, my answer is going to be less than 10. I know it has to be less than 10. So if I get an answer that's bigger than 10, that is just cray-cray. I could also, if I multiplied 10 times 15, I'd get 150, which I know is greater than 137. I know that because I can count on my fingers and toes. Now, I'm sure when you did it, you did the most difficult part of division, and you wrote your multiples of 15 over here. I know you did, because that's what I asked. Unless you have that multiplication chart I gave you at the beginning of the year that goes all the way from 1 to 20, then you wouldn't have to write them because you'd have it. But what if I don't have it and I'm taking a test and I need to use my multiplication chart? Well, if you're taking a test, you need to use your multiplication chart. You can always get some graph paper and draw it on there. Then you can just count on your fingers and toes. Ma'am?
Are you doing those problems off of the paper?
Yeah.
I don't see it.
It's not on there?
It is.
Oh, it's on there. Never mind. I'm right. She's wrong.
The other one that you did was
All right. So now, I know it's got to be...
At this time, agility choir. Please make your way to the small gym. Agility.
I think that means you can lift your leg over your head or something. You have really good agility. All right, so I'm going to think, because I didn't make my most difficult part of division, I know 15 times 3 is 45, which means 15 times 6 would be 90, right? 15 times 6 would be 90, because 45 plus 45 would make it 90. So now I know it's greater than 6. So if I was lazy and didn't do the most difficult part of division, I could take 15, and I know it's between 7 and 9. So I'm going to try 8. Let's just see what 8 gets. Because once I do 8, I either know it's going to be 7 or I can know it's going to be 9 if it's not 8. And so I know some people are reading a book right now, but I'd prefer you didn't. Then we have a 2-digit factor times a 1-digit factor. I know my 8s. 8 times 5 is 40. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that must be too small, because if I subtracted 120 here, then it's going to be greater than 15. So it must be times 9. And I can check that with addition really quick. And so it is times 9, which gives me 135, which I subtract, I get 2. 2 is smaller than 15, so I'm in good shape. I bring down my 1. So then I have my 1 here. 15 goes into 21, and I know 15 times 2 is 30. So obviously it's only going to go in one time. And 15, the difference between 15 and 21 is 6, which is less than 15, so we're good. However, I can't have 9 1/10 remainder 6. So I have to change 137 1/10 to 137 10 hundredths. And it doesn't change the value. Because I'm adding, I have 137 1/10. So I'm going to reach in my pocket and add 0 hundredths and throw them up there. Now I bring down the 0. And since I know 15 times 2 is 30, that must mean 15 times 4 is 60.
Yeah.
So then it's going to be 4, it's going to be 60. I'm going to subtract and get 0. And then, because my young friend Zane insists, and it asks for on that paper a second method, so the second method I'm going to use is the multiplying it to see what I get.
That's what I do.
So I'm going to have 914 times 15. And remember, I'm leaving the decimal points out until I go for my answer. And I know there's going to be 2 numbers behind the decimal point in my product. So 5 times 4 is 20. Carry the 2. 5 times 1 is 5. Plus 2 is 7. 5 times 9 is 45. 4,570. Now I'm starting in my tens place. Oh my gosh, we're back to that college level work. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 9 is 9. Then I add 0, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 5, 6, 7. 9 and 4 is 13. 2 numbers behind my decimal point in the problem, 2 numbers behind it in the answer. If this were multiple choice, you might see 137 10 hundredths, or you might see 137 1/10. Same value. Doesn't change. Same value. Questions on this one? Boom, shakalaka, peace out. God bless, love you. Do something kind today. Save the bees. Subscribe, please. Tell your friends to subscribe. Tell your enemies to subscribe. If you have an aunt that has a lot of friends, tell them to subscribe. If you go to a sporting event, ask them to announce it on the sporting event. Please subscribe to Damon McMurdo on YouTube. Then I can get thousands at a time.